Hi, everybody. Before we get to another great interview, the Two Opinionated podcast could really use your help. And it's easy, it's free. IMDb, which is the entertainment database, imdb.com, named us a top 100 podcast. We came in at number 82. That's a big deal because there's 15 million podcasts and growing. So to be named to anybody's top 100 list, pretty big deal for us. And the way you can help is to go to imdb.com, look up the Two Opinionated podcast, and that's it. Just bringing our page up. That traffic really helps us out. Our YouTube channel is MeisterCon Pod. All we ask is that you subscribe. It's also free, but that really helps us to attract these amazing guests that we keep bringing on the program. And that's it. Two easy ways for you to support us, and we would really appreciate the help. Now let's get to that interview. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Two Opinionated. I'm so excited today. I've got actor William Sadler with me. So welcome, William.
How do you do?
Nice I should have asked you, what do you go with? Do you go by William, or are you a Bill, or you Will?
I was born William Thomas Sadler, and then I was Billy for the first 20 years, and then the first 2 or 3 movies I was Bill, and then I did Die Hard 2, and Franco Nero said, "Why you are Bill? No one is going to pay money to see Bill," and he said it like that, and I was William. That's a name, William. So I called SAG and I changed it to William. But my friends call me, if you're going to call me William, you have to say William.
William.
But my friends all call me Bill or Billy. So
yeah, I like that.
There you go.
Billy Sadler sounds like a gunslinger.
Well, there you. Okay, I'll go.
I kind of grew up, as a fan of yours. This is I'm gonna give you my first. This is the first thing I saw you in, and I got to credit my mother because she allowed me to watch the movie. Early '80s.
Yeah,
you were like a clerk in Hanky Panky.
Wow. Yes, I was.
I remember that because I was probably early teens when that came out.
It was a teeny little role, but I remember there was no computer, and Gene Wilder comes in and says, "Is so and so staying at this hotel?" And I said, "I'll check," and I went right, like as if I had a computer, and Gene Wilder said, "Don't make that sound with your mouth." I said, "Oh, okay, Mr. Wilder, I won't." And Sidney Poitier, and we shot the scene. It was swell. And Sidney Poitier directed it.
Oh, I didn't realize he directed that.
He directed that film, yeah.
Yeah.
And he sent me, when it was all over, I got this letter from Sidney Poitier thanking me for being in his movie. It was, a tiny little role.
Did you keep the letter?
I hope I did. I think I did. It was such a long time. It was 2 or 3 moves ago, and stuff, stuff happes.
Well, it definitely does. Yeah. Well, my mother was she was a Gilda Radner fan. So that's why we
were all Gilda Radner.
Oh my gosh! Yes, I know. Who isn't?
Come on. Once she did Roseanne, Diana.
Yeah.
And there's too much violence on TV. It's violins. Violins. Oh, never mind.
She was so funny.
Oh my God, I loved her.
Yeah, and I was as far as Gene Wilder, I liked him more in Silver Streak than Hanky Panky, but he was good in that one too.
Yeah, he's a wonderful actor. I liked him in Young Frankenstein. I think.
That was probably the one he's most.
That was maybe my favorite of all of his work. The producers was pretty wonderful too, but Young Frankenstein and the outtakes. I don't know if you've ever watched the outtakes.
Oh, I have. Yeah.
He couldn't keep a straight face. He's working with Marty Feldman and who's it? Cloris Leachman, I think. And
Cloris Leachman was in there.
Just these wonderful, astonishing, and Peter Boyle.
Oh, and Terry Garr was in that one.
Who?
Terry Garr was in that. Yeah.
And they would say things. Marty Feldman would do something with his eyes. And
that's all he had to do.
And Gene Wilder would just fall on the ground laughing, and they had to cut, and he had to do the scene. They had to do the take over again, and do it over again, and do it over. He couldn't keep a straight face. It must have driven everybody else crazy. That that was a great take. That was a really funny take. If you could have kept a straight face, we could used it. But
I doubt he cared.
Nah,
I doubt he cared. He was just having a good time. Well, so I jumped ahead a little bit.
Okay.
Let me back us up a little bit. Tell me a little bit about what got you into entertainment. Why'd you want to go into acting? That's a difficult profession.
It is. I didn't know I wanted to do it until high school. I did music a lot, and I still do music, and I have an album, in fact, that is for sale. The money goes to St. Jude's, but it's.
Are you singing on the album, or is it?
Yeah, they're all songs that I wrote, and I sing, and I play the guitar, and I have friends who play violin, fiddle, and piano, and what have you.
Oh, it sounds really good.
It's called The Kitchen Tapes, and it's out there.
Yeah, make it a note.
William Sadler, The Kitchen Tapes. I did it. I've been writing songs my whole life, and I did it during the pandemic when you couldn't, you couldn't go out, you couldn't work, and they canceled all. I don't know the movie. I found
that song got it out for you.
I found my light. Here it is. But I was I was in a folk band, and then I was in a garage band in high school.
Yeah.
And then I played the banjo, and I told jokes. I was Banjo Bill Sadler.
Banjo's hard to play.
Banjo Bill Sadler playing the banjo and telling jokes, and in variety shows I was doing stand-up comedy, and then so I guess I was trying to get on stage, but one day my English teacher asked me if I would try out for the senior play.
Yeah,
and they were doing Harvey, the guy who sees the big white rabbit, and I got the lead, and I did that. And it's a funny character, but it's a character. I mean, he's a real character. When you're 18 years old, he's playing that guy is he's a character. And
that was who Jimmy Stewart, right, in the movie.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I hadn't seen the movie when I did it, which was good because I guess I would have imitated him. I love Jimmy Stewart.
Yeah.
But anyway, that was my first play. And it was more fun and more interesting than the stand-up that I was doing, or doing covers with the garage band, just doing covers of, Louie Louie, any song with 3 chords in it. And all of a sudden, here was this thing that was really fun, and I seemed to have a knack for it. And the second play I did was a community theater production of The Subject Was Roses, which is a Pulitzer Prize winning drama.
Yeah,
not a comedy. And it's a wonderful play. It's the one that launched Martin Sheen's career. And I did that. I got one of there are 3 characters, and I got I was in that. And the director of that said, "What are you doing after high school?" And I said, "I'm going to go to Buff State and study industrial arts and become a shop teacher." I know. It's as bizarre as that sounds. That's what my brother was doing. And the Vietnam War was raging. And so I wanted to get into some college or other, and because you could stay out of the war.
That's right. Keep you out. Yeah.
Just a little bit longer. And he said, "Let me make a phone call." And he called the head of the drama department at Geneseo and State University College at Geneseo, and about 60 miles away. And then later that week or so, he drove me to Geneseo, the 60 miles, to meet Alice Austin, the head of the drama department, and say, "This is the young man I was telling you about." And so he thought it was a good idea. And she thought it was a good idea. And so I went to Geneseo for 4 years and did, once I started down that road, it became more and more exciting to me. I had sort of fallen into something that I was good at and taught me about people, about human beings and human behavior. And I just couldn't do enough of it. I couldn't stop, and I couldn't do enough of it. I ended up I did 4 years at Geneseo, and then another 2 years at Cornell, getting an MFA, then regional theater.
Well, yeah, you put some time in.
11 years doing theater in New York and Broadway and so on. And then I did my first movie.
Yeah, that's a long progression to get to your
so first. I spent a lot of years on the runway, and then and then I flapped my arm and I took off in the movies.
What was the first movie?
Well, aside from Hanky Panky, the first movie, I believe the first movie, it was Project X with Matthew Broderick and
I remember there was a monkey.
Helen Hunt and the chimps, and I was the bad guy. I killed all. I was radiating all the chimps and killing them so that we could see if they could flight simulators while they die. So another charming role. And then after that I did. Well, I guess I got a TV gig in a show called Private Eye that moved us out to Los Angeles.
Yeah, who was the star of that one?
Josh Brolin and Michael Wood.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of remember the show, but I don't remember.
It only lasted about 9 episodes.
Okay,
they relocated us and moved us to LA, and it was all this film noir. Everything happened in the 30s, 40s. Yeah. In Los Angeles. So it had a real look to it. And
there was a Private Eyes movie, but it was like Tim Conway and Don Knotts.
But that's what got me to Los Angeles. And then Hard to Kill and The Hot Spot, and then Die Hard 2, and then
you had a run there.
And then I was kind of off and running.
Hard to Kill was Steven Seagal, and then you were the Colonel in Die Hard in the second one. Yeah. Yeah. What's your opinion on that? Is I know Die Hard 2, but is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think it's got all the same elements as, It's a Wonderful Life, and and no, I don't know why it's a Christmas movie.
I know, I got the same problem.
It happens at Christmas, and they play a Christmas
song. It. It's just he's just at Christmas.
But
if that's a Christmas movie, then Gremlins and all those are Christmas movies.
I could never figure out why that's a holiday classic like Miracle on 34th Street or whatever it is, or It's a Wonderful Life. What? Die Hard, Die Hard,
Die Hard right up there
and
with
Die Hard 2. They both happen at Christmas. That's true.
Yeah.
But that's about all.
That's the only connection I could find.
Yeah, no, there's nothing.
I mean, there was the Christmas Eve party.
There's nothing about, there's nothing else about it that makes it Christmassy. I don't think.
You play a sheriff a lot in different things.
Yeah. I do.
You've got that. I think I've always thought you've got that kind of small town police officer look. So they put you in a sheriff role anytime.
They did it. Well, they did it again in what do you call it? This last Stephen King movie, the Salem's Lot.
Salem's Lot. Yeah, yeah.
I'm a small town police chief, and who doesn't want to hear about.
No, you don't want anything to do with that.
Vampires. Man, don't even go there, man. I don't want to. You call somebody else.
Well, that's basically what you did in that movie. You're like, I don't.
I know, and it for all the good it did.
It didn't help you much.
It didn't at all. I do play. I guess I have a sort of a look. People are just ever so slightly afraid. I can look like hard ass.
That's it, kind of hard ass, I think.
Top,
like if you pulled me over here in town, I would not be surprised.
and asked to see your license and registration, please. It's not it's funny, and I've told this story before. The very first episode of Tales from the Crypt, they had me come in and read for the cop at the end.
Oh.
Who, and his only line in the whole show is, "You have the right, Mr. Talbot, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be held against you." Blah, blah, blah. That's it. That was the whole line. And I asked, "What's up with the role of Talbot?" And she said, "Well, they need a star. They're looking for a star." And I said, and I left. And I left the building. And I'm halfway across the parking lot, and Karen Ray stuck her head out the window of Joel Silver's office building and said, "Bill, come back here. Learn these sides for Talbot, and come back on Monday, and I'll put you on tape." And I did, and got the role, and that was.
Well, that's pretty great that you asked, and then they obviously thought about it for a second.
I'm not sure why I asked. It was just, but yeah, if you don't ask, I guess if you don't ask, you'll never. You have to ask.
You gotta ask.
Ask. What's the worst the worst they can say is.
Well, I tell this to my kids all the time. Fortune favors the bold. So you gotta ask.
Yeah.
I mean, because the worst thing that happens is you get the.
They say no. They say we need Malkovich, or no, I'm sorry, that role is taken, or whatever. But if you don't ask, you're.
Well, I thought it was kind of funny that in the TV show, you played a Grim Reaper in one of those episodes. Which you did that on Bill and Ted.
They asked me to reprise, do it over. They asked me to do the rollover, and I did. That was, the little wraparounds with the puppet, with the Reaper.
That's right.
Or with the Tales,
the Crypt Keeper.
Crypt Keeper.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. I thought that's. I was like, he's been typecast as death.
I know. I don't know why. I guess I'm very happy that they found something that they wanted me to do. That because they're 9 there are 900 actors right behind you
That's right.
they haven't found something for them that they like to see them do.
Right.
But they like seeing, I was able to use my, whatever skills I had and be this scary hard ass or whatever they were asking for. I've never really quite figured out why why Hollywood took one look and said, "Ooh, oh yeah, no, he's
The Reaper.
he could kill people." And I've never killed anybody in my life. I'm one of the nicest people I know. And,
well, if I wasn't one of those Bill and Ted's, didn't you have a singing part that's in one of those?
I did.
It's been a while since I've watched him. That's why I'm like, I think
is the Reaper. Yeah, it was a brilliant piece of it was a brilliant thing for me because the Reaper in the Bogus Journey movie, in the first one 30 years ago, starts out very scary. He's a terrifying figure.
Yeah, he's scary.
And then he starts playing, and they're going to play for their souls, and if they lose, they're going to stay in hell forever. And it's scary. It's both, and it's genuine. It's genuinely frightening. And then they start playing the games, Battleship and Clue and Electric Football and Twister, and he loses it. He loses at all of them, and he falls apart. He's like the most petulant, spoiled little shit. He's like,
it's a really well written role.
He's a very, very poor loser, and he lies, and they say, "Sorry, Death, you lose. It was Professor Plum." He says, "I said Plum." He can't. He's never lost before in eons, and he loses to these two idiots.
Yeah, over and over.
Over and over and over and over. And he finally has to take them. And then by the end of the movie, all he wants to be is liked. He's coming along for the ride, and then he joins the band, and then he falls in love with showbiz, and it's more fun than.
I'm kind of surprised they didn't do a spinoff just with the
Reaper.
Yeah, the Reaper.
Reaper Madness.
Yeah, why not?
Someone write it.
I'm gonna make some calls.
Come on, get on the phone. What are you?
My ex-wife, when we got married in the 90s, and we one of our favorite shows, and it came out a little bit later, was Roswell. We loved you on Roswell, and I thought that was such a good underrated science fiction show. It's pretty well done.
Nice cop too.
Yeah, that was a sheriff role. Yep.
I thought it was it was really nicely written.
We loved it.
It makes all the difference in the world. It really does. And kudos to David Nutter, who directed the pilot, who's put together that cast, put together the look of the show, and directed lots of episodes, including the pilot episode, to kind of make sure that it got launched and was off in the right direction before they handed off to other directors and so on. But I had a lot of fun on that show. I really enjoyed it. I had the character again is this hard. He's this awful hard ass cop in the first season until his son gets shot.
That's right.
And Max saves. He thinks he's the three aliens. He's the biggest problem they have.
Yeah.
Is that Sheriff Valenti is on to them.
That's right.
And he's getting closer, and he's getting closer, and he's getting closer. And finally, Max, the sheriff's son, gets shot, and Max puts his hand on his chest and saves him, just like whoop, and he's healed in.
Yep.
And the whole second year, now,
now you're helping
them. It's a
them.
really wonderful arc for the character because he's after them and he's their worst enemy in the whole first season, and then he's protecting them for the whole second season, and so much so that it gets him in trouble, and he loses his job protecting them. He can't explain why he's done things and so on, and he ends up losing his job. And then in the third season, he starts a country band called the Kitschikers. And
I forgot about that.
I got to play and sing and some of those were my own songs too, by the way.
Oh, really? Those were your songs?
Some of them, yeah.
Well, yeah. That was the music on that show was really good.
So I was doing it even then, but yeah, I liked Roswell a lot. I thought that was a pretty.
We always it was a good show, like right before bed. Get a nice because it was exciting, but it wasn't gory or anything. It wasn't real upsetting. It was just a nice, good science fiction show. And
with a nice romantic.
Part which is why my wife at the time loved
it. This sort of Romeo and Juliet.
Yep.
Thing where she's a human and he is not. He's an alien, and they've got. The sparks are flying from the pilot episode. The sparks are flying, and how are they going to do it? How's this going to work? How can this possibly work? And it hooked people.
Yeah,
we had a wonderful fan base who followed us. And
where did you film that one at?
Los Angeles.
Okay.
We filmed it. At a studio.
Have you been out to LA recently? Have you seen it since all the fires?
I haven't been out since the fires. I'm actually going out in a couple of weeks. I'll be going out just for a visit.
It looks pretty bad. I
watched those fires. I was calling my friends and saying, "Are you okay?
We were doing the same thing.
Oh my God, and a lot of them had to be, they were given warnings and they had to move, they had to evacuate, but their homes were okay. They didn't lose everything. And
I remember I was talking with a publicist on a Saturday evening,
right,
and everything was fine. He was doing fine, and then he called me back Sunday afternoon. He said, "Yeah, the house burned down. It overnight. He lost it." And I was just like, "Oh my gosh!" And I think last count that we had like half a dozen friends or acquaintances that had lost a house. It's just terrible.
That's
terrible. But I haven't been out there. I think we'll be out there this summer, but I haven't been out there since that happened. But
it's just awful.
We were supposed to be. I had a friend in Death of a Salesman on a play out there, and we were going out to see him. And last minute decided we had too much going on, didn't go. And I was kind of glad because all that fire stuff hit right after that.
I think it's all under control now. I don't.
It is. Yeah, I think it's fine now. It's just now it's the rebuild, which is the mess.
Yeah, extraordinary. I lived out there. We lived out there for, like I said, I did all this theater, and then my first movie, and then my first TV show, and then another movie and so on. But we lived there for like 15 years or 16 years.
You were out there a good while.
For quite a while, and we were there for the Whittier quake and the Northridge earthquake, and and the riots, and God,
well, you've pinpointed the time zone area you were in.
It's like Los Angeles, man. Come on, mudslides.
Yeah, straighten up.
Earthquake. What the hell?
Get it together.
Get it together, LA.
So I put myself through college back in the 90s. I owned a couple comic book stores, so I've always been a comic book fan. And you got to play the president in a few movies, and a TV show.
Yeah,
that's pretty great.
Somebody had to do it.
Yeah, they needed a president.
And Iron Man 3, I was the president.
Yeah. Well, and I know Agents of Shield. You
Agents of Shield
reprised the role.
But yeah, in the Marvel universe, that's
I mean,
once you're
pretty
the
good.
president, you're the president.
That's right.
There are term limits, even in the Marvel universe. There are term limits. So, but that was great. That was really great fun too, because I had the role was fun to play. But what I found the most fascinating was just how big the production was. I've been in big movies and little movies.
Yeah.
That was, oh my God, was that big? That was like, I mean, green.
They put a little bit of money behind those movies.
Oh Lord, what they built? They built Air Force One. Like half of it was a set, and just amazing. The technology and the effort.
We used to talk about it in the comic book store, and I just wishing that they got to the point where they could make those type of movies, but make them really well done. Yeah, we've had some kind of cheaper versions, although Superman, Batman, terrific. But yeah, they have definitely fulfilled the comic book lover over
well, you must remember the first. I don't know how old you are, but this might be before your time. George Reeves, Superman.
Oh yeah. I'm 55, but when we first got cable, which was late 70s, they'd show his episodes as Superman on like TBS. If you got up early in the morning, you could see
but that's what I grew up watching, and I thought that was the coolest thing.
Pretty good.
I had my mom pin a towel to both sides of my shirt, so it was hanging down my back. So I had a cape too, and I would,
as long as you weren't jumping off the roof.
So I would jump off of trees and ride my bike with the cape flapping out in the back of me. And I was trying. I've been rehearsing for this career, since I was little.
You just didn't know it.
I just didn't know it. I was diving out of haylofts with my BB gun and coming up shooting. I was doing Die Hard 2 before Die Hard 2. But I love that George Reeves, crashing through a brick wall, and it was like, you watch it now and it's hokey. Oh my gosh, hokey.
It is
hokey.
When you're a kid, you don't care.
But when you're a kid, you don't. Whoa! Did you see that? He bent the barrel of that gun with his hands, and you're like, whoa! God, get out of here! The bad guys are shooting at him, and the bullets are pew 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 bouncing off of his chest. Unbelievable.
Pretty good.
Yeah, it was good. It was great stuff. It was great.
I always watch Superman. We'd watch Lone Ranger, Cisco Kid. Those. And of course, like the Three Stooges, Little Rascal.
You got my whole childhood.
Yeah.
But you saw it in its second iteration on a cable deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when I saw it. I was watching the real, because at the time TBS was just looking for content. So the 50s and 60s was what most of their content was back then.
Right.
A little bit of the early
70s. It was cheap too.
It's probably cheap, yeah.
They could get their hands on, they could buy all of Superman for $1.98.
Right.
It was, well, that's kind of what happened with Turner Broadcast Company, the Turner Movie Net channel.
Right. Yeah.
When they first started, we had just made the Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah.
And it opened in the movie theaters, and then it ran for like 2 weeks or something and closed.
Yeah, it didn't stay open very long.
It was gone. It was just, as Walter Hill would say, it was down without a bubble. And we just thought, and everybody thought, well, that's
it.
That's it. That's that. Movies. That's the life of movies. That's, you make a movie and it either lives in the movie theaters or it's gone. and it's gone for good. And 50 years from now, it'll be on the late movie on television or something. But it's
not Shawshank though.
And then it was nominated for, I think, 7 Academy Awards, and Forrest Gump won everything in sight. But
a lot of people think Shawshank's the best movie made ever.
I know,
pretty good.
Which I find I'm proud of that fact. It's funny. Somebody came up to me after we made it and said, this is a classic, and it had just come out, and I thought, really, that now.
They were right,
and they were absolutely right. But in my head, I'm going, you know what? I think maybe we should wait 10, 20 years.
At least a little bit.
See if people still think it's a classic. It's, Casablanca is a classic.
That's right.
And The Wizard of Oz. And there are lots of movies that they were made, decades and decades ago. And you watch them. You watch them
classic.
now.
I always think, what was the 10 Commandments? They show every Easter. They'd show 10 Commandments.
Right,
that's what I would call a classic.
Right, or Citizen Kane. Or
Citizen Kane. Yeah,
the list goes on and on and on, and you think, well, it has to last a while. It can't.
That's right.
It can't be a week old, and you're calling it a classic.
Well, it was one of those, though, that it was one of the first, I think, that really gained life after the theaters.
Right.
It was like that first movie that really made that transition.
It made it because of video rentals, and it was and Ted Turner.
Yeah.
Ted Turner put it on his channel, 3 times a week.
Every time you turned it on in the evening, it was on.
Right, it was on. It was on, and then it was on again. He must have cut some deal to get. He must have got it for nothing. Or I.
Yeah, you're right though. It played weekly.
It was the Shawshank channel. It was the Shawshank Network, but a lot of people saw it that way for the first time.
I didn't realize this. I've got a good friend that lives in just outside of Columbus, but he's close to where I guess that they filmed that. Was that in Ohio somewhere?
Mansfield.
So every year, him and his wife go and run they do like a 5K run, Shawshank run.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he goes and does that every year.
I've never done. I finally went back this last August for the 30th anniversary reunion.
That's hard to believe.
And it's become this thing. It's just the guy who runs the prison now. It's not a prison. It's a museum to the.
Yeah, it's more like a tourist area now.
Exactly. And people get married there. People do the tour and go visit the different sites where, here's the bench that Brooks sat on, and here's, the courtroom where Andy was convicted. And
you didn't have any feelings like, hey, this movie's pretty good when you were making it?
Oh, I think we all thought it was pretty good.
Yeah.
It was just.
Yeah, you never know if something's going to do that, though.
I think, that's the thing. They say that a movie is made 3 times. Once when it's written, once when it's shot. You make a different movie when you shoot it than the one that they wrote.
Yep. And
then the editor gets his hands on it, or her hands on it, and makes another movie. And you can, I don't know, there's so many things that could have happened or might have gone, could have gone a different direction that didn't. It went just exactly the way that it went. And the pieces and the through some magic, it, the casting was the casting, and there were huge fights about who's going to play this and who's going to play that, and we need a big star and so on.
Really?
Yeah. And who's going to direct it? Frank hadn't directed before that. He had done like one horror movie or something, and not, he wasn't he didn't have a track record as a director.
Yeah, I didn't realize that it was basically a new director.
And he was offered money not to direct it. Give it to me. Give it to Rob Reiner, who had just done Stand By Me.
Oh yeah,
another Stephen King story.
Yep.
So there were like a million different little things that could have gone a different way that didn't. And
I guess that's how a classic is.
And now, the same thing is true, I believe, of the same thing is true of Casablanca. They were, for a while they wanted Ronald Reagan to play.
That's right.
That role.
Heard that, yeah.
And
people forget he was kind of a big star before he was president.
Yeah. But I mean, it's like, but then now it's a different movie.
Oh, that'd be a way different movie.
No, I can't imagine anybody but Bogey now. I mean, come on.
No way.
It was just this. It's just this perfect thing that. It's a perfect thing, and that's a hard. I don't know how you set out to make a perfect movie. I don't know. I'm not sure how it an awful lot of it has to be just luck, that somebody's available or somebody's not available, or we, when they made Jaws, the mechanical shark just didn't look good. So,
right.
So Spielberg had to find a different way to tell the story. He couldn't shoot this thing, that he was planning on shooting.
Well, yeah, they didn't have the effects back then.
And so so there were these buoys, these that the shark pulled underwater, and then he pulled 2 of them under, and then he pulled 3 of them under. And because he couldn't show us this shark, he found ways to scare the crap out of us. Because our imaginations made this fish, just
sometimes it's more scary when you don't know.
Yeah. Oh, I never like it. I never like it when you finally see you see the whole creature, and because your imagination is so powerful.
Yeah.
If we can engage your imagination in the story, get you.
That's right.
Imagining this awful thing, you're much better at
That's
it.
Right.
Than your brain is like 100 times better at it than the special effects guys or the props guys.
I mean, that's true.
It's not a guy in a rubber suit going, It's like, no, it's bigger.
Yeah, it's real.
yeah, exactly.
So I always play this game with the family when I have somebody on. I'll be like, this is who's coming on the show. What have you seen them in? Well, my parents never have an answer, ever. But my dad knew you from Jesse Stone. Hey, that's pretty good.
Oh, cool.
Because there was a bunch of those movies.
There was. I love that. I love playing that. Yeah. We mostly shot those up in Halifax.
Yeah.
And I love that. That was a neat character because he's Gino Fish.
Yeah, I was trying to think of the name. Yeah, he had that weird name.
And he's a sort of a gay gangster, and there are things about him that he's obviously a very powerful and knowledgeable and dangerous human being, but he likes Jesse, and they and they talk, and
It
whenever
was a good character.
whenever they talk, they have a wonderful time with each other. They enjoy each other's company, and they, they help each other.
Yeah.
It's just this one. It's this very cool relationship that they have.
Well, it's unusual in like a detective show to have for that type of relationship.
To have that sort of thing. Yeah. I
Yeah, I
remember
thought that was pretty good.
the first set. They his office was this elegant, mahogany desk and table, and they used eating oysters off a silver tray and so on. And he's just, polished and, and so on. And on either side of him are boxing rings where these sweaty young men wearing shorts are beating the crap out of each other. And it's this blood sport. There was plenty about him that was fascinating, and
there was a lot going on with him.
Yeah. I had fun with those. I wish we could make more.
Yeah. I bet Tom would do it.
I guess. I wish he would. I'm around.
Well, I was looking because I watched most of those, I think, but there's a ton of them. I didn't realize there was that many of them.
I think I made like 5 or 6 or 7 of them myself. Yeah.
We don't really do a movie of the week anymore, though.
No.
We've kind of gotten away from the TV movies.
Well, now everything is on demand.
Yeah, you got streaming now. It's
you can watch anything you want anytime.
Anytime.
So
I miss the. I enjoy binging as much as anybody, but I miss the. You watch an episode, you have to be there at a certain time on a certain day, or you miss the episode, and then you got a whole week where you can dissect it before you get the next one. I always like that.
Yeah, I wonder what that does to the viewer, though. That's what I grew up with.
Yeah.
That the next episode is going to be next week.
Right.
Friday night at 8:00 or whatever it is, and you got to drop everything you were doing. And
that's right.
That's where appointment television, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
And that's just a thing of the past. It's just silly. Now you can watch it all day.
Anytime. Anytime.
You can watch all of the episodes one after another. You can.
You don't have like the entire country sitting down to watch MASH at the same time anymore.
Right. Which is interesting. I guess there was a kind of a communal feeling that,
I always thought, like when those shows ended, you'd watch, like you do the watch parties. When MASH ended, I remember my parents having people over to watch. Having
friends over to watch that.
Yeah. We don't do that stuff anymore.
We said, we have watch parties, but now my daughter does it. She'll have watch parties. We'll all gotta gather and have,
that's nice.
Our favorite beverage after dinner or something.
Yep.
And she's got a big screen and a projector thing, and it's all digital. And you can call up any movie.
Yeah. Anything. I used to do it with
documentary, anything you want to watch.
I used to do it with my sons. We call it. We'd have manly movie nights. So we'd watch something like Bullets, or Magnificent Seven, something I watched when I was growing up.
Manly movie night. Yeah, how'd that go over with the ladies?
Well, the ladies, my wife and daughters, they would do something else. That's why we were. It wasn't our choice to be alone, but since we were alone, we just turned it into manly movie night.
I see. You were just watching stuff. There was no way they were going to be interested in.
That's right. They didn't have any. They had stuff they were doing.
Lethal Weapon 3.
That's right.
The Expendables.
They were not interested.
Not even a little.
So I know we got to wrap up, but I wanted to bring up. Did they? Yeah. Why? Let's just keep going. Did they not come to you for the Section 31 movie? I thought that would have been a neat cameo in there.
I didn't know there was a Section 31.
Yeah, they have one that has oh shit.
Is it out yet?
It's out. It just came out. It's on Paramount.
Oh, well, there. See.
But you were kind of at the beginning of Section 31.
I created it on Deep Space Nine. I was the first. I was Director Sloan, Luther Sloan.
Yeah, Director Sloan. That's it. Yep.
And that was the first day on the set. I asked them, "What's his first name?" And somebody called up to the writers' room, and it came floating down that his name was Luther, and I said, "Perfect."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you played him. Yeah, he was pretty tough.
No, the very first image of him sitting there watching Bashir, watching Dr. Bashir sleep.
Yeah.
I thought was brilliant. It was like the creepiest thing I could imagine. Like how long?
Well, that's how I always thought. That was a very creepy character.
How long have you been sitting here watching? How long have you been watching me sleep?
Nobody would like that.
You know what I mean? It was like, whoa.
Yeah, that was very unsettling.
and he's like, and it was like another day at the office for Sloan. You know, I always do this.
I just thought, that would have been such an easy cameo. They could have just had you, whatever, just in the background.
I don't. Maybe they thought I was dead. I did die in the third. I was only in 3 episodes.
I know. And, well, that's true. I guess it made a
huge. I'm surprised. It made just an enormous impact on.
We love that
on the fans and on the show. It was like Sloan came in and hit it like the cue ball, and everything else went moving in a different direction. Right. After that, it was like,
well, and it kind of darkened the show just a little bit.
Crap. Yeah,
and I like that. I think a lot of fans like that.
Exactly. He was like, at the time, he was modeled after Oliver North, who. The Iran-Contra.
Yeah, that actually makes things. That's interesting. I never would have thought that.
Yeah, there's like this stuff that we don't trade arms for hostages. That's not what we do. We're Americans.
You're right.
Our government doesn't do things like that. Well, guess what? Guess what?
Maybe we do.
There was a little group of Americans who did do that, and if you get caught, they don't know anything about you. And
I'm so glad you mentioned Oliver North. I never would have made that connection.
That was I believe that was the impetus for that character, because I think he says at some point, it's like, you don't think you won that war by yourself, do you?
Yep.
That when that whole planet got the virus that wiped them out.
Oh yeah.
Somebody had to do that.
Somebody had to do it.
And he was. He was the means by his Section 31. Nobody knew it even existed.
Yep.
But it had been there from the beginning of the Federation, which was terrifying. It's a terrifying thought that you have this dark little thread,
But that there would be that little group, because every government ever has had some type of little secret group doing stuff in the background.
I guess, yeah, but I mean, you watch the first, all of the Star Treks before that, they're all good people.
They are. I think that's why everybody connected with that.
They're honest. They're true blue. They have rules that they live by, and
it's black and white where you're living in the gray.
And all of a sudden, there's like, what do you mean what do you mean you do stuff like that too? Now it was a great. It was sort of like a drop of ink in a glass of water, it like all of a sudden it just went, oh, well, I can't unsee that.
Nope. You messed that water up.
I did. I peed in the punch bowl. That's what I did. So, well, this has been lovely. I enjoyed talking to you.
Well, I appreciate the time so much, sir. I'm such a fan of yours, and we could your resume is so big, we could probably talk till tomorrow.
We could, if you wanted to, I guess.
I'm not sure anybody would stay with
I
us.
don't know who would stay and
No,
listen.
no.
That would, but that's certainly true. Um,
You interviewed
yeah.
with a podcast buddy of mine, Doug Dietz, a few
Mhm.
years back. He saw that you were coming on, and he's like, he was my favorite interview ever. So,
That's very nice to hear. I sort of enjoy doing these things. I don't know that. I mean, I think people. I hope it. I hope it's interesting.
no,
Or,
I
or
think people, there's fans like me, especially. We love hearing the
been
behind the
watching
scenes stuff.
been watching for decades,
Yeah,
and then it's. I always find it fun to hear the little behind the scenes
me
stories
too.
and things like that. So
I've always loved hearing about that stuff. I spent most of my life with all this useless knowledge in my head and didn't know what the heck I was going to do with it. And then my son came up with this podcast idea, and I was like, "Oh, there you go."
well, I will thank him for me.
I will.
Yeah.
he's a he's a librarian, children's librarian during the day, but at night he does all the
Oh,
podcast stuff.
congratulations. I'm a
Yeah,
huge fan of
me
libraries
too.
and kids reading. Read, for goodness sakes.
Yeah, hold that book in your hand.
Oh gosh. I I had a really difficult time reading, and it wasn't really until I began to do theater
Yeah,
and plays, and you have this script. You not only have to read it, you have to
learn it.
memorize it.
Yep.
You have to learn it from one end to the other, and there's just the discipline of that was one was great for me. It was um, I needed the kick in the ass, I guess. I know that. Well, I don't know. They had made reading um, not fun.
Yeah.
You get graded on it, and you have to get up and do it in front of the class when you can't really read yet, and you
Yeah.
have to.
Yeah, it was back then. It was a little bit of it was traumatizing if you struggled a little.
Yeah, yeah. It wasn't ever fun, and
I always
until
had trouble with. I was real good at math until we hit algebra and geometry, trigonometry, all that. And I had the same teacher in high school all 4 years
yeah,
for all the higher level math classes, and I
yeah.
struggled with it. And she would send me up to the board at the beginning of class, give me a problem, and I'd just be there the entire class trying to solve this problem. And it was miserable.
Wow. Well, I mean, you would think they would.
That's how they used to teach.
I know. No, I know. I know. You're gonna stand there until you
Until you
get
figure it out.
this
And,
right.
and
Like,
usually it was a
so
buddy of mine going, do this.
just no. It's a 71 over 51. No. Yeah. No. I. On the other hand, I mean, teachers. If it weren't for that English teacher in my high school, Dan Larkin, I wouldn't have. I don't know if I ever would have discovered that I was this thing that I do that I love. That's made a
Yeah.
career for me.
Oh yeah, teachers.
It was a teacher. It was doing the hardest job there is.
Yeah, my dad. He was a teacher, basketball coach, and then administrator. Most of my life he was a principal.
There you go.
But yeah, he was social studies teacher.
Good for him. Good for him.
I remember those days. Yeah,
librarian.
I always said school teachers ought to be paid like doctors, and it should be much harder to become one.
I think so.
But whatever.
No, I couldn't agree more. I think they're incredibly valuable, and what they I can count on one hand the people that have changed the course of my life, and they're all teachers.
Yeah.
At one point or another, it was a teacher who said, you know what, why don't you, have you thought about doing this, or going that way? Or
I know, so valuable.
It's I'll talk anyway. Anyway, I don't. That's
before I let you go, sir.
Entirely.
Yeah, we get off track, but before I let you go, we talked a little bit before we get on there about you're working on a movie called The Yeti. Anything else that you're working on that we can kind of keep an eye out for?
You can keep an eye out for that one. That we just finished it. I don't think it's. I mean, it's in the can now.
Corbin Burnson in that one too.
He is.
Yeah,
he is. We shot it, like I said, up in Buffalo, New York, and they have these brand new.
On your home turf.
That's where I was born and raised, and I got to go home and be the hometown boy makes good for a minute, and that was really fun. And but they've built these huge sound stages in Buffalo that are, I mean, big, new, shiny sound stages. You could shoot anything. You could shoot another Star Wars there. You can shoot anything you want there. And there's tax incentives now. So I think there's a slate of movies coming through.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, no, it's phenomenal. I worked in the steel mill for just a tiny bit of time with Bethlehem Steel and on the shore of Lake Erie. And I was there in its last gasp before it went under and became this, miles of rust. And at one time it employed most of the city. I mean, there were 20,000 employees or something like that.
That was probably about the whole city at that time.
And it went, and it was gone. So I was really, really pleased to see this rebirth, this investment and rebirth in something that's as fun as making movies. I mean, make movies, man.
Yeah, make lots of movies. We love to see them.
Make TV shows. Make
something. Be creative.
Be creative and have fun and knock our socks off.
That's what we all, especially now, we all need some good stuff to knock our socks off.
Certainly do.
A little bit negative lately. We need some positivity.
Yes, I think so.
Well, sir, thank you so much. I hope at some point we get a chance to speak again. I really enjoyed the time.
I would love to. I enjoyed it.
Well, good. Okay, hold on one second. It was William Sadler. William, I couldn't even get it out. I was so excited. William Sadler, just the best. I've been watching him, I mean, let me think, 40 years, a little over 40 years, most of my life. I absolutely love him, and he was so gracious with his time. I could have kept going. I was going to ask him about our cartoon president, where he played a bunch of the political roles, including Mitch McConnell, but it just ran out of time. So we'll have to have him back. He was also he played Klaus on the Green Mile. Loved him in that. Loved him in The Highwayman. I was going to ask him about that one. Big Costner fans enjoyed that. He was a sheriff in Machete Kills. I should have brought that one up. He did, let's see. He's been on CSI, The Good Fight, SVU, Z Nation, The Flash, Elementary. I mean, I could keep going. He played Michael Flynn in The Comey Rule. Should have probably brought that one up. He was a reverend on God Friended Me. He's in Blue Bloods. Played Sam on Blacklist. And I definitely should have brought up Tony from Power, because he was on there forever. He did a bunch of those. Played Clay on Berlin Station, underrated show. Pretty sure that early on they had Ashley Judd was on there. Big Ashley Judd fan. Loved him on Homeland. He was Michael Higgins. he's been doing this so long. He was in an episode of Aftermath and Newhart, which is pretty great. Not the original Newhart, the one where he is in the Vermont, bed and breakfast. Just terrific. Loved him in Damages with Glenn Close too. A couple episodes of Roseanne. He was in the Pacific. I can't believe I didn't bring up. He played Colonel Lewis in the Pacific. He was on St. Elsewhere. Used to love St. Elsewhere. Such a good show. True Calling, Jag, Poltergeist, the series, Outer Limits, Murphy Brown. I think that's all. That's not everything he's been in, but that's a pretty good list. Oh, he was recently on the Rookie. Enjoyed him on there as well. We've got a Rookie playlist. We've probably had, I don't know, a dozen or two from that cast on the show. So we've got a playlist if you're interested. The Rookie, check that out. If you're finding us for the first time, so happy that you're here. We've done this today. I put out episode 915. You can find all of those on our website, meistercon.com, audio and video versions. If we're doing anything in studio, if we're going on location, covering a convention, going to see Bill, it'll be on the website, meistercon.com. Our YouTube channel is MeisterCon Pod. Please subscribe. Really helps us out. Doesn't cost you a dime. Thank you guys so much. Until next time. Bye, everybody.